audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
Exploring faith and the future. Neil Johnson and Bible teacher Dr. Camille Majdali.
Some more today in a series we've been talking about the power of biblical meekness. We know that Jesus was meek. He called himself meek and lowly of heart. And there are other examples of meekness too. We're talking about Isaac in the Old Testament. There's lots of lessons from Isaac in the Old Testament in the book of Genesis, Camille.
Indeed there is. I want to point our listeners to Genesis 26 because Isaac is demonstrating meekness throughout this entire thing, and he gets rewarded, blessed, and even gains an inheritance as a result of his meekness. We learned that God told him to stay in the land and dwell and make himself at home, which he did. He lived in Gerar, he pitched his tents, he sowed his seed, he took care of his flock, he dug his wells. And as he did this, because he had obeyed God, God blessed him, God prospered him. That's all good. However, when God prospers, the Philistines get envious. So the Philistines gave Isaac a hard time. They ejected him from Gerar, and then they stole his wells, and they basically harassed him. But what we learned is that Isaac, in the spirit of meekness, the quiet, empowered, selfless determination to continue to do God's will no matter what, far from looking weak in his unwillingness to fight for rights, he actually looked strong because Isaac never went on retreat because retreat is weakness. On the contrary, he just kept going forward, digging wells, resting and recharging in a place called Rehoboth, and basically preparing himself to work and, if necessary, fight for another day.
So moving forward, not giving up ground, even though some of the things that have been given you may be taken from you. This is part of the strength that comes from trusting God rather than just letting life happen.
Well, yes, we don't just let life happen because biblical meekness is proactive, not reactive. But the interesting thing is, because Isaac, first of all, looked strong by being proactive and going forward, and he looked strong because God kept blessing him. That always looks good to anyone. What happens at the end of chapter 26 of Genesis? His enemies come to him, and basically, even though they were the thieves, even though they were the inhospitable ones, they sued for peace. They said, Isaac, it's obvious God's with you. Make a covenant with us and don't hurt us. Please don't hurt us. So Isaac does that. And then, of course, they have the wells in Beersheba, and that's where we get this city of Beersheba, which is still with us to this day. With that in mind, I wanted to read something to you that I wrote on this whole topic of meekness. It says, meekness, a spirit of empowerment, not entitlement. Overcoming, not overcome. Inheritance, not infirmity. Grace, but not greed. Victory without victimhood. By meekness, you interface with Almighty God Himself, so that when He inherits the earth, you inherit it with Him.
Faith and the future with Neil Johnson and Dr. Camille Majdali from Teach All Nations. Find articles, videos and podcasts from Dr. Camille, plus today's and other episodes of Faith and the Future in the Vision app or at vision.org.au.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.